I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 20 of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I can't believe that I just said that. Like episode 20? What the heck? So cool. It is the beginning of May. I've been podcasting all year long, and I'm so excited for episode 20 because today I'm talking about copywriting tips for launching your coaching program with the launch copy coach herself, Chelsea Wallace. So, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining me today for a conversation about copywriting and launching as a coach. Why don't you take a minute and just introduce yourself, tell the listeners what you do, and where they can find you if they have any follow-up questions.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me, Genesis. I so appreciate the opportunity to be the 20th episode on your
Yes.
brand new podcast.
Yes.
Hey now.
So cool. I love it.
All the celebration emojis.
Right, exactly.
And y'all, just to give you a bit of history, Genesis and I go way,
Oh my gosh.
way back. It's been years.
2018, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so thrilled to continue to support her work. I love everything that you do, Genesis. Like,
Thank you.
And it's a privilege to be here. So thank you.
Yes. My pleasure. Seriously, like when I reference my copywriter, you'll probably see on my Instagram and stuff, like, this is who I'm talking about. This is Chelsea. This is the copywriter that I tell that I like boast about all the time, that I'm like, you should be following Chelsea. Like, I love her work. And oh yeah, that great sales page that you signed up for Passionate Paychecks with. Yeah, Chelsea reviewed it. Oh, you like my webinar? You can say thanks to Chelsea.
So yeah, that's kind of what I do over on these internet streets to kind of directly answer the introduction question. I am a launch coach and high ticket copywriter. So I work with coaches, course creators to support them in their launch and copywriting efforts and doing all of that really sustainably without the burnout, like fully aligning your life and your responsibilities and energy in your life with your launches and your business. So I've been in business for nearly 8 years now. I have helped hundreds of coaches and course creators by this point, creating, multi 5-6-figure launches, grossing over like 3.5 million total in revenue. So I'm like, this is my work. I love my work. And I am so privileged to be able to share my knowledge with you all. So again, thanks so much, Genesis. And thank you all that are listening. We hope that this will be a great conversation for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So cool. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like the first time I saw like your little Google Drive face, I think was how it went. Because I was in a program where it was like learning online business. And one of the features was getting your webinar reviewed and your sales page. And we were linked up through that program.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like after I was out of it, I like went and found you because I was like, can I just hire you? Like, I just need to stay connected with you because I want your eyes on everything. Because at that point, like my background was in higher ed and like writing APA papers. And I was very either like long-winded and verbose and like very casual and conversational, just like talking and feelings, or I was APA strict, formal, cited, like short, blunt. But there's copywriting, which is like not a type of writing that I was ever exposed to during like my undergrad or grad program. And even in my professional work, like I was writing copy in different examples looking back now, but like I was never taught how to write copy. So if we were talking about like, let's just back up, right? What the heck is copy and what is copywriting? Like, how would you explain that to a brand new coach?
Yeah. So there is definitely a difference. And I don't think any of us are exposed to copywriting unless you do like marketing studies in school.
Mm.
Because copywriting really comes down to persuasion. It comes down to understanding why people make the decisions that they make to spend money, and how do you give them the information that they need to make those decisions.
Mm.
So whether you do a good job of giving them that information or not comes
Mhm.
down to the quality of your copy. Now, I do want to make a slight differentiation too, Genesis, between like content and copy,
Ooh,
because
yeah.
content, when we think of content, content can be like really informative, it can be entertaining, it can be all of these things. But content is not specifically designed to help people make a buying decision.
Mm.
Content can create connection, create relatability, create relevancy, build trust, build authority. Content can do all these things. And
Mhm.
all of those things can eventually lead to a moment where people make a buying decision. But copy specifically is designed with buyer psychology in mind,
Mm.
with understanding what your prospect needs to say yes, and how they self-qualify themselves and kind of take themselves out of the pool if it's a no,
Mm.
right? And it's both sides of that coin. It's not, we're not thinking persuasion as in, okay, let me convince you to buy my program. No, it's how do I ensure that you're the right person? How do I give you the information you need to ensure that you understand that you're the right person? And once you understand that you're the right person, the yes is easy, right?
Mhm.
Once you understand that you're who this was made for, and this person is the best person to help you, this offer, this container is the best thing for you, the yes is easy.
Mm.
If once you understand that that's not for you, the no is also easy.
Mhm.
So it's really kind of sitting in that space of, okay, how do I know and understand how my people make decisions and how my prospects make decisions? And from there, how do I give them what they need to make a decision about my program?
Mm.
And the way that people make decisions is always changing, of course, and there are subtle differences across different communities. But that's kind of a broad overview of copy, content, what you need to know as a new coach.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I I had not considered that copy could be defined that way, right? That like it's very specifically about the buyer's psychology of
Yeah.
making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I thinking back, like I studied nudge theory and behavioral change. So looking
Mm-hmm.
at like how do people make decisions, and there was a couple psych studies we looked at around like overwhelm, right? Like if you go into a
Mm-hmm.
grocery store and there's 40 options of jelly, you're less likely to buy any jelly than if there was
Yep.
8 or,
Yep.
fewer. And
Mm-hmm.
like all of those pieces about how we make sense of information and then
Yes.
personalize it to actually help us reach our goals. Like, and in
Right.
coaching, there's such like a meta thing happening here, right? Like coaches help people make decisions to reach their goals, but
Mm-hmm.
then coaches also that run their own business have to know how to write copy that helps their clients decide to work with them on their journey. So it's
Right.
like, how do you do both of those things at the same time? Like talk about the transformation you hold space for as a coach while also making sure that you're calling in the right people.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a tricky balance to strike, and it's something that we as coaches are always improving on.
Mm,
Like we are always improving on this stuff. It's not a one and done, and anybody who tells you that it is lying to you. Okay?
totally.
It
Yeah.
will always be refinement. There will always be iteration. You test, you tweak, you gather data, you test again.
Yeah, totally. And in terms of gathering data, what are some of the data points that you would recommend a coach be thinking about in terms of copy? Like, do you have like, these are the metrics you should be thinking about? Or is it in general, like, are you making sales or not? Or like, how would you break that down of
Yeah.
how you talk about data within copywriting and launching?
Yeah. So this is to me where like the launching piece of things like really comes into play, because copy doesn't ever function on its own. It's not copy for the sake of copy. And even when you have like website copy and you have like a work with me page or something, it's directing people to some kind of a program, some kind of a sale, right? So to me, this is where you start to pay attention to, okay, what is the campaign I'm running? What are the metrics I'm tracking with that campaign? Or in my marketing, what metrics am I tracking in general? And you start to really think about all the stages of your prospect's journey before they like decide on a yes for your program. And in each of those stages, what does that data start to indicate to you? Because, for example, someone can, let's say, listen to this podcast episode. You can listen to this podcast episode that Genesis is now producing. You can listen to all 20 of her podcast episodes. You head to her webinar landing page, watch her webinar, and then decide to work with her, right? And your customer journey has been podcast, webinar, sales call, enrollment, right? And so Genesis could track the efficacy of her messaging, of her copy, to really see, okay, which parts are effective and which parts are not. Because let's say that her downloads for her podcast are steadily growing, right? People are signing up for her webinar and watching her webinar at a really great rate. There's not a lot of drop off. They watch mostly all the way to the end, but people aren't booking sales calls. Then it's just like, okay, there's something about my messaging that's really working up until this point. All the copy that people are seeing, all the content that they're seeing up until this point is working really well. So what's happening after this? What am I saying that might be out of alignment? And we can start to ask questions to examine, okay, what's not connecting with my prospect? What information do they not have? What support in my copy am I not giving them in order to help them make that next step towards booking a sales call so that they can actually enroll in the program? So this is where we start to think about like marketing, launch campaigns, all those things around data.
That makes a lot of sense. And, in terms of deciding your marketing strategy, I've talked on the podcast and in my webinar that we're referencing about that there's typically a 3-stage marketing funnel that you're going to need to build out, where you are finding strangers that might be interested in what you do. And they just want to learn, that you do what you do. And then engagers that learn how you do what you do. And if they like that, then they might become a buyer, which is where like the sales call. So for me, it's like content, which is going to be free content, like my Instagram, my TikToks, my podcast, then referring folks to learn more via my webinar. On that webinar, you're invited to a free call. And in that entire process, like, I think something that I've noticed is new coaches, and like I struggled with this as well, and I believed it for a long time. I thought that the problem, right, air quote problem, when I wasn't seeing sales, when I was showing up in these different spaces and putting out what I felt was really good and helpful information, was not that a webinar was the problem. It was not that a podcast or Instagram post was the problem. Like, it's not that I needed a different platform to be on, or that I needed, a webinar versus an ebook or something like that. It was the copy, because the copy in all of those spaces has to be aligned, like what you were saying, right? It has to be aligned to your offer and to your ideal client's needs and questions and like place in their journey. And yeah, there might be some, preferences of if your audience like actually isn't part of the like billions of users on Instagram, then okay, fine, like don't post on Instagram. But like,
yeah,
if you're trying to target like really corporate professionals, maybe you should be on LinkedIn. If you're trying to, reach out to a younger crowd, maybe it's TikTok or whatever. I don't know all the stats, but chances are your audience is on all the platforms. And then how you engage with them, though, can be where copywriting skills and copywriting lessons or tips shifts the way that you're showing up. So if we were to talk about like top tier funnel content, like people putting out, this is what I do, like you referenced, like educational, entertaining, informative types of content. At what point would you think that that content creating turns into copy?
Yeah. So once you give people a call to action,
Mm.
anything after that becomes copy.
Ah.
Once it's not just helpful and informative, but it's now, oh, I now have an opportunity to actually do something with all of this helpful and informative information.
Mm. Mm.
At that point, it becomes copy because you are asking people to take action.
Mm.
You are, for one of some like maybe better words here, you are persuading them to do something. It might
Mhm.
not be persuading to buy it, but it's persuading to do something, to click somewhere, to sign up for something, to get on a call somewhere, to go read this other thing, go watch this other thing, DM you, reply to your email, right? So once you start to ask people to take action, you are now in a position where you have to give them a reason to do that. And your reason has to be compelling enough. They have to have the information that they need so that your reason is compelling enough so that they take action.
Oof.
So content switches into copy anytime you ask for a call to action.
Wow. That makes so much sense. And the way that you just phrased that is like that they have to have the compelling reason before you're asking.
Yeah.
Like that makes so much sense, which is where like one of the things I was just sharing in a group coaching call last week was like, I want you to take the problem your program solves and put it up as early as possible in your marketing funnel as you can,
Yeah.
because it's like, why get the wrong people in the door in the first place? Like if
Right.
I
Right.
sell lobster, I'm not gonna be talking to people that have shellfish allergies like about my
Mm-hmm.
store. And
Mm-hmm.
so why would I be like, hey, anyone that's hungry, come to my restaurant? Like, no, anyone without shellfish allergies, anyone who likes lobster, like come to my store. And so
Right.
how do we be, yeah, open and honest about our intentions and then allow people to choose to be influenced? Because I think there's, kind of this slimy, icky feeling that people get of like, ooh, it's like intentional marketing, or oh, it's influencing like people's decision making, it's manipulating. Like it can be really cast in a negative light. But to me, it's like if I was telling my best friend, like, hey, I really want to take a vacation to this beach town, and here's why. Am I going to use those same kind of words? Or am I
Right.
going to say, I'm inviting, I'm sharing, I'm talking about? And how do we, as new coaches, I think a lot of times um, folks come with this concern that, like, oh, well, if I'm writing copy, right? If I'm trying to convince someone, or if I'm trying to give people information to help them make a decision, that like maybe I'm doing something wrong, when really
Yeah.
it's like, it's up to you. You're just presenting
Mm-hmm.
the information so they can make a
Exactly.
decision, right? But how do you
Exactly.
think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think like we were talking about this earlier, I think it's one of the biggest kind of beliefs that we have that hold us back from really getting out there and boldly stating who we can support and what we do is that feeling of, am I coming on too strong? Am I about to be manipulating people? Are people going to feel icky about this?
Mhm.
And here's the thing, I want us to think about compelling not from the place of like convincing or like desperately trying to change people's minds.
Mhm.
I want us to think of the word compelling as when we talk about compelling messaging or compelling copy, I
Mhm.
want us to think of it as compelling to them, not compelling to us, compelling to our prospect. What is compelling to them? What do they feel like they need?
Mhm.
What are they actively looking for solutions to? What are they actively looking to solve right now?
Mhm.
Not 3 months from now, not 6 months from now, right now. If you think about this from your own perspective, what in your life are you looking to solve as like a problem right now?
Mm.
Right? To
Mhm.
you, that issue is compelling.
Mm.
And so we want to make sure that the copy and the messaging that we publish is not compelling to us, it's compelling to them.
Mm.
We're here to support, to serve, them. This has nothing to do with the way we think we sound. And I think as new coaches, we don't realize, like I didn't realize this when I first started out, that it had nothing to do with how I think I sound.
Yes.
Or what I think I'm saying. Like my opinions about this do not matter, period.
Yep.
Like the question is, do my people like resonate with this? Are they getting what they need? Right? Am I providing the solutions that they are looking for actively right now? The things that are urgent to them, the things that are compelling to them. Am I meeting them in that place? Yes or no? And if I am, I'm doing my job right. If I'm not, I've got work to do. But it has nothing to do with me and my opinions and my hangups. And it can be so easy to get stuck in that place, especially as, I mean, I'm not even going to say especially as new coaches, because it's all of us at whatever level.
Totally.
Because I promise you, the 7-figure entrepreneurs I've worked with have the same problem sometimes.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Seriously. It's
all of us.
It's a common thing.
It's such a common thing. We get
Yeah.
stuck in this place where we're so close to our own stuff that we allow our opinions to influence what we publish. And I promise you that if you can get to a place where you start to peel apart those two attachments and look objectively at who you're trying to serve, what problems are most urgent and compelling for them, and ask yourself the question, is my messaging meeting them where they're at? If you can get to that place, right, you're well on your way.
Yeah, that's so critical. And it can be something I hear a lot is like, well, and it's funny, anytime you start with an I, it's
right,
kind of like, oh, maybe that's a little red flag that you're like thinking about this from the wrong perspective. And like that might be a place to pause.
Right. I think that
I want to tell them this, I want to talk about that. But what do they want to know about? What does your ideal client think of that? And it's this really strong empathy required skill that I know, especially coaches, like that is why coaches do what they do, right? They have empathy for people's problems. They want to solve people's problems with them. They want to hold space for them to do their work. They want to guide and lead and show up for others. Like, so that empathy ability is there, but knowing how to translate that feeling of empathy into writing, into content, into copy, into emails, into sales funnels, like all of these things, like that's not taught anywhere. So it makes sense to struggle with it.
Yeah, definitely makes sense to struggle with it. And too, like we've often, as new coaches, we've never sold anything in our lives, and if we have, it's definitely not been our own creation.
Totally.
So it's just like, how do we, there's so much baggage that we can carry that we don't even realize we're carrying until we are now required to sell something that we created, more so sell it for a 4-figure or 5-figure price tag. Right? Then it's just like, whoa, okay. Who do I think I am? Who is gonna buy this? Like, all of the thoughts start to come up, right? But once you start to, as Genesis, I think it was so genius what you just said. Anywhere there's an I, like that's a clue that maybe, I'm not saying completely divorce yourself from your business. Obviously, you cannot do that, and we're not. That's not a requirement here, but it is a signal that you might need to shift into more objective thinking and to focus more on your prospect than on yourself.
Yeah. And how to do that? Like, I've heard some marketing coaches out there say, like, you should never use the word I. Literally, the word I should not be in your content or in your copy. And I disagree with that personally. I don't think that, like, showing, right? Like, you can be present in it. Like you said, like, you don't have to be divorced from your business. Like, you exist. And especially as a coach or course creator, like, you probably have competition or, colleagues that are doing something very similar to you, but it is you that is attracting in the people that want to work with you. And so talking about I and my story and like my feelings or experiences, I think is fine to a certain extent, but you have to know how to switch it to make it relatable. So like if I say I used to struggle with this, but then I learned how to do that. So if you're struggling with this and you want to get to this place, you might like my program. Like
Right.
that back and forth has to be there. That awareness though, that objectivity that you called out. Like if you're stating, you know, I just want to talk about my own story, my own journey, like maybe you're a content creator, but like that's not necessarily being a coach. It
Right.
should be about how is this going to impact the person you are ultimately trying to work with, because you're like your content and your copy isn't what you do. It's in your program. So to your point, like how do you provide what your prospect needs to know in order to make a decision about if they want to join you or not in your program?
Yeah, and I mean, these are skills that we develop, y'all. This is not, you're not supposed to know all of this as
Right.
we talk. That's why Genesis is here. That's why I'm here. Right?
Yes.
These are skills that we grow into, and as I said before, continue to grow as we evolve, because our programs will evolve too. Like the program that you sell, you start to sell this year is not the program you will sell forever. It
Totally.
will evolve, it will grow, it will be refined, you will add things to it, you will remove things from it. So it's a process, and it's a skill set that you acquire and continue to refine.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm thinking about if there's a new coach listening right now, if you had like one tip around like, hey, new coaches, you really need to know this thing about copywriting. And then we can talk about like launching and what that holistically means. But like, what would be one? And I know one is really hard. So if you have two, it's okay. Like, what would you say like new coaches need to know about copywriting?
I think that, oh shoot, Genesis, you just said one. Come on now. That's not
One,
nice.
maybe two.
Okay. I think one thing or two
Mhm.
would definitely be like that point that I was making earlier about what's most compelling for your person, what's most urgent for them. That's super important, because oftentimes we try to solve problems that aren't problems.
Oof.
Like we're so passionate about, and I've seen a lot of coaches do this, like based on our own journeys, we want to help people create the same kind of joy, freedom, peace, whatever it is that we've created for ourselves, right? We start our coaching businesses based on our own journey.
Mm.
And so we say things like, I want to help people find confidence, or I want to help people find clarity, or I want to help people go from overwhelm and burnout into freedom. I'm like, fam, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
One. Two, where the heck is the urgent problem?
Mm. Yeah.
Actually, I think this is the one thing I could say. I don't have to add anything else.
Yep.
Like, please, 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 please don't use any of those words. For goodness sake, that's the first thing. Don't use any of those words anywhere. I will unapologetically say, like, and Genesis, if you disagree with me on this, I'm sorry. Don't use any of those words.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I definitely have pushed back on you even in your own editing of my
I know.
being like, why are you using this word? What does that mean? And I think that that's ultimately like the practice, right? Of, well, then what words do you use instead would be to ask yourself,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
like where does that show up? And
Right.
I think that that's something that people struggle with a lot
Oh
in
yeah.
like
I
creating
still
their
do.
content and marketing, right? It's so
Like it just
easy.
does. I mean, just because I don't use those words doesn't mean I don't use others. But
Totally. We all have our catchphrases
we all
that
have
we
our
lean
catchphrases that
on.
we default to and lean on.
Yes. And
But
yet,
the thing
how,
is,
what does that
how
mean?
exactly, where is this showing up in their lives
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Why is this so urgent for them right now? Like if I have IBS
Mm-hmm.
and I literally just ate lunch and I've spent the last half hour to an hour in the bathroom. Like, that's an urgent problem.
Totally.
If I have IBS and the last time I had a flare up was 3 months ago, that's not an urgent problem.
Yeah.
Two prospects that have the same kind of diagnosis, but they're in completely different stages of their journey. And the person that you want to be talking to right now is the one with the urgent problem.
Yeah.
And it's the job of you as a new coach to figure out how to speak to that person, to call that person out, to learn the copywriting and messaging skills that will meet that person where they're at and give them what they need to recognize that, hey, you can help them. Your program can help them. And now is the time to do it.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. If we were to take those terms, right? Like overwhelmed, I forget the exact ones you used, but like
confidence, clarity, burnout.
Right. Go from burnt out to like confident. Like that dynamic is fair, right? To want to help someone go from that emotion to that emotion. Absolutely. But like in what context?
Right.
In what area of their life? In regard to what specific problem? Like, is it that like right now my feet are really cold? And so I'm thinking like, you know what? These socks that I bought from Target are cute as hell, but they are not warm. And that's an immediate problem I have. Like right now, if somebody was trying to sell me a cozy blanket, I would be more receptive to hearing about it because I actively know that I am cold. Or if I got served an ad that talked about, you know, you want cute socks that are also warm without being itchy, like wool thick socks, like look at this new type of sock. I would be like, oh yeah, I can remember an exact place and time in my life recently where I experienced the pain of not having those socks. And tomorrow, when I experience it again, now that I've become aware that, oh shit, there are better socks than these cute ass Target ones that don't actually warm my toes. Tomorrow, when my feet are cold again, I'm going to think back and be like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed and tired of having cold feet. I wish I had socks that I was confident would keep my feet warm. Because it's still the same feelings of like frustrated, overwhelmed, so tired of this specific problem, like of my cold feet. So tomorrow I want to feel confident in my solution. I want to feel able to pick out a pair of socks that are going to do what the fuck they're supposed to do and not be little cute but thin, flimsy pieces of cloth. Like, and I know we as coaches, we don't sell socks, but like we can be mindful of the same concepts. Like if we were to try and transform that into a coaching example, if you were a life coach, which I also don't think anybody should be calling themselves a life coach because you can get more specific than that.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other podcast.
I know, right? Right? But like, that's the same problem. It's like, okay, but like get more specific. And to your point, like what is the urgency? What is the problem?
Right. And I love that example that you just used of socks, Genesis, because it wasn't just a moment of like, oh, my feet are cold. Oh, there's an ad for some cute socks. It's also, shoot, that was yesterday. My feet are cold again today. And it's probably also to take this to the next level. Dang, every morning, like, or every night at about 1, when I wake up to use the bathroom, my feet are freaking cold.
Yes.
Like, every single night. This is stupid. I can't, like, I don't have to struggle with this. Oh yeah, I saw an ad the other day. Let me just get those dang socks.
Exactly.
Right? It's when the problem is painful enough or recurring enough. And this doesn't mean that you have to sell to the pain, y'all. It just means that you have to speak to exactly where they're at right now. And the quote unquote where they're at right now stage being super urgent for them. Like they are convinced they need an action, they need a solution. So how do you step in to let them know that this solution is the right one for them?
Yeah. Okay, that just made me think of you could be a mobility coach. And so I'm sitting here thinking, oh, my feet are cold because of these shitty socks, right? But if you're a mobility coach or a fitness coach that knows actually it might be that your circulation is not working as well as it could be if
Mm-hmm.
you knew to get up and do a 5-minute stretch routine every hour.
Right.
And if you positioned my problem of cold feet while I'm working or cold feet while I wake up in the middle of the night towards, do you also have this other concern? Do you
Mm-hmm.
also need to know how to stretch your body more? Do you also sit for long periods of time for your
Right.
job? Like, if you start calling out all of these other details where I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh yeah, maybe it is that I need a mobility coach to help me learn
Right.
how to be more mobile so that my feet don't get cold so often because I have better circulation. But the
Right.
presenting problem can still be the same thing in my life as I experience it as a consumer, but you introducing the solution, which, like you said earlier, is then when it becomes copy. Like, that is so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm,
Brilliant example.
I love this. Okay. Next question I have for you. What the heck does it mean to launch a coaching program? I'm like, am I launching? I don't know. Are my doors open? Like, is it evergreen? Like, yes,
There's
but
so many like
let's dissect
words.
these words.
Yeah, there's so many words and phrases that people
Right.
throw around to
Oh my
talk about
gosh.
launching and marketing and etc. Here's
Yeah.
what you need to know. A launch is like you can have two types of launches, first of all. Typically when we talk about a launch though, we're talking about the first kind, which is some kind of a quote unquote live campaign. And when we say live, what we mean, it's like it's in real time, it's a short window of time, and you're asking people to buy your thing within that window. So oftentimes you might have like, you might be launching something every month, and your window of time is until X number of spots are filled.
Mhm.
Or you might be launching something for 6 weeks. It's still a very specific period of time, right? Where you're saying, okay, you can only enroll up until this date, right? You can only purchase up until this time. So when people use the phrase launch, they're typically talking about that kind of a launch, which is what we call a live launch.
Mm.
You can also have an evergreen launch, right? Where you have a pre-recorded something, webinar, mini training, what challenge, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And at the end of that, you invite people to get on a sales call or enroll. And then you have maybe sales emails after that, encouraging people to purchase, right? The elements across both types of launches can be very, very similar. So you're still going to have emails in both, right?
Mhm.
You're still going to have maybe some kind of a training in both. You're still probably going to have some kind of a free thing that you give away. You're still going to have social media content in both, right? The elements are the same. It's just how immediate is that happening? How immediate is each campaign happening? Like in what kind of space and time? That kind of dictates whether or not it's a live launch or an evergreen launch. And usually when you hear the word launch, we're talking about a live launch.
Mhm.
So does that clarify? I feel like I'm not sure if I answered that, but
Yeah, no, you did,
okay.
you did. And
Okay.
you use the word campaign, so I'd love to
Yes.
hear, how would you define campaign?
Yeah, sure. So I use the words enrollment period, launch, campaign very interchangeably,
Okay.
right? So a campaign is basically the same thing as a launch. It's a period in time where you decide, okay, I'm going to do this kind of thing to create this kind of outcome, and the outcome is usually sales, right?
Mhm.
So when you hear people talk about, for example, marketing campaigns, it could be like a promotion to get people to download a freebie. You can launch anything, y'all. You can launch a freebie, you can launch a mini training, you can launch a podcast, you can launch anything, right? But typically when we're talking about launching a program, what we're talking about is some kind of truncated period of time within which you decide, okay, this is what the campaign is going to look like. This is what the strategy is. This is what the messaging is. This is what we're going to say. This is how often we're going to say it, how many emails we're going to send, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what we're going to do in order to create a particular kind of outcome.
Mm. Yeah. That makes sense. And so launch really, like you said, it really is about that live dynamic of like, or even if it was, I guess, even if it was evergreen, it could be the same model, but it's considering how do you take a brand new person that's just encountering your work
Right.
through the entire buying journey, like through the whole customer journey to like they've got a seat in your program
Right.
and
And it
like
doesn't
thinking of
even,
everything through that.
right. And it could be a brand new person. It could also just be a person who's been following you for a while, but hasn't
Mm,
yet made their decision. Because the power of a live launch or a live campaign is that other people are doing it with them, right?
mm,
This is why launches often have like higher sales spikes than when people have like an evergreen sales process. Is evergreen, the sales kind of trickle in because you're not doing everything in a group. So you
mm,
don't have that kind of social component to it where everybody's looking around, everybody's seeing other people participate, getting results, getting excited, and then purchasing the program.
mhm,
Um, so there's kind of a different energy there, and it could be somebody who has hung around but hasn't said yes, and that energy, that social component, kind of pushes them over the edge where they recognize, you know what, I've been saying I need this, haven't pulled the plug, but now is really the time.
mhm. Interesting. So let's imagine like dollar per dollar. If you did a live launch versus an evergreen, do you have a belief of like which one would make more, or would you say it just depends?
uh it does depend.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Because it depends on, so actually it depends on a lot.
Mm,
Because here's the thing, even if you decide that you're going to live launch something every single month, you're going to launch the same program every month. Let's say you're going to have a live webinar every
mhm,
month, right? Are you growing your community in that time?
mm,
Are you nurturing the people who have come into your community in that time? Like, what has happened between the last live webinar and this one, right? Because if you're just consistently launching to the same people, you're going to see your results fall off as quickly as your second launch.
mm,
Versus, let's say, the person who had an evergreen sales system going, and they just had, a pre-recorded webinar that they were, driving like prospects to from different podcast interviews that they were doing, right?
mm, mhm,
But they did like 5 podcast episodes on other people's podcasts every single month.
mm,
Your audience is consistently growing,
mhm.
right? And so they might make more sales than you, who's live launching every month, but you're not growing your audience.
Yeah.
So it depends a lot on like your audience growth rate. It depends a lot on your messaging and your copy, as we were talking about, how effective that is.
Mhm,
It depends on the strategies that you're using and ensuring that those strategies are really right for your audience.
mm,
There's so many factors that really come into play when you start to compare live versus evergreen launches. And so you kind of have to figure out which one will work best in that intersection for you and for your audience.
mhm. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And so, in terms of your offers and specialty, do you see like you've done the most work in one of those areas, or like coaches in general kind of pick this one over that one? Or like, how would you help someone decide, should I do a live launch or should I do evergreen? Like a brand new coach, right? Like they just
Yeah.
developed their program. How would you help them make that call of live launch versus jump into evergreen?
Well, you definitely want to know that your program actually can make sales before you go evergreen.
Ah.
So you typically do not want to go evergreen on just like a brand new program, mostly because, as I mentioned before, evergreen sales often trickle in, right?
Mm,
And you can manipulate how slowly or how quickly those
mhm,
sales come in by, like, sending more people through that process, that evergreen process you've created.
mhm,
But if you don't know that your program makes sales, then you don't know that your messaging and your copy work. And if you
mm,
don't know that your messaging and your copy work, then you could do as many like podcast interviews, social media reels, like ads. You could like run this thing in the ground in terms of like visibility and just trying to drive traffic. You won't get traction because you don't know that your messaging works. And it might not work, which means you might not get sales, which is a lot of effort to get nothing on the back end. So I would recommend a live launch first. And typically just keeping it like super simple, y'all. Please don't try to complicate it. Like so ridiculously simple. Please. Like literally, you don't even have to create a slide deck for your training if you don't want to. Okay. 3 to 5 bullet points about whatever training you're doing. If it's a challenge, you don't even have to do a challenge. Just do a webinar. Just do a simple masterclass. 3 to 5 bullet points. Tell people what you're going to teach them, what they're going to come out with, and pitch a sales call after that.
Yep.
Simple.
Yep. I feel like the most simple version of like a marketing funnel or launch plan that I recommend, and a lot of my clients choose this route because it is so simple to get off the ground, is you've got your social media posts where you find strangers, you invite them to become an engager, which is that training or, ebook or PDF, like depending on your best method for communicating what you do. But I think, and I will sing this till the cows come home, like webinars work the best.
Yeah.
And then like at the end of that, whatever your thing is, and in your follow-up emails, invite them to a call. And like that's a 3-step process.
Simple.
It's pretty simple.
And the reason why this works, it works on multiple fronts because it keeps your effort and energy low. It allows people to see what it's like to learn from you, right? And on like with the sales calls, you actually get a chance to see and hear how people make decisions, which is what you need to write and refine your copy. That's what you need to write and refine your messaging is those sales calls. You need conversation. You need to talk to people because you don't get that information just from whether people like your post or not. You're not going to know how they're making a buying decision just based on what they say in the comments, right? The best way to know is to have a conversation about buying your program with them to know how they make that decision. So then you can shift your copy to give them whatever they need, whatever you were missing before, or to not target those people if that's what you want to do as well. So yeah, it's just the simplest version of a live launch. You don't have to complicate this to see success at all, but you do need to be consistently like, I'm not going to say growing your audience per se, but you do need to be getting in front of different people. You do need to be building more and more relationships. And so I'm not saying you need to like go viral, but collaborations, things like getting on podcast episodes, things like nurturing your email list, those things are important before a launch because they only set you up for success. So keep the launch simple so that you can do all the front end work to set the launch up for success. Don't complicate anything where you don't have to.
Seriously. And then to one of your opening points, like get your first round of data and then go back and continually improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is a never ending journey. Like as long as your business is still a business, you will be tweaking this. You will be working on this. Like you might get a week or two off here and there, but like you're gonna be wondering how to make it better always.
Yeah. And to the point that you made about empathy, Genesis, like this is in so many ways, I think people like myself can really get caught up in like the data and the numbers. And it's really important for us to recognize that why we do all of what we do is because we feel for our people, right? Like we don't want them stuck where they are. They don't want to be stuck where they are. So let's get them out of it, right? Like the empathy for where they're at and where they want to be is what's driving all of this action. You refine your copy, you refine your messaging, you refine your program because you want it to be better for them. It's because you want to support them in making their best decision. So it's an empathy-led data refinement process.
Yes. Yes. Seriously. It's like design thinking, right? It starts with empathy. Like if you're prototyping a new offer, like you need to start with the user in mind and
Right.
get to know them on a deep, intimate level. And if it's you, a few years ago, sweet, you've got like tons of market research, but
Oh yeah.
also you've probably lost some of those details. So like go talk to people, which
Yes.
like you said, the best data you're going to get is getting people to talk to you that are considering an offer like yours. So if we were to consider that, right? Like let's say we're talking to a brand new coach, like gosh, it would be so fun to bring on like do a Q&A with you or like a
It
panel.
would.
You should do a panel with people and be like, "Ooh, this is what I would say. What would you say?" Like that'd be so fun. If there was a brand new coach that was like, "You know what? I just really want to book 5 sales calls next week." Next week, right? So I'm giving like a very short timeline. What would you say? Like, okay, go launch a webinar that is on Monday morning, or what would you say? Like to get those 5 sales calls booked for next week, what is the quickest way to get there?
Well, my first question would actually be, does your business actually have the capacity to create 5 sales calls in the next week?
Ooh, let's
Because
say yes. Let's say there's
you might
5 spots.
well, when I say 5, when I say does your business have the capacity,
Yeah.
I really mean not just like space in your client calendar, but also in your audience. Is your audience even
Ooh.
big enough for that? It has your like all of the pre-work that I was talking about. Have you been nurturing? Have you been visible? Have you been consistent? Have you been building relationship? Because if you have all of those things in place and your audience size is appropriate enough for you to get those 5 sales calls, then heck yeah, let's talk about how we can do that.
What's
And
appropriate
so
enough?
let's just assume that your business does have the capacity to do all those things, right?
Well, now I'm curious, what's the number you would think of?
For 5 sales calls?
Yeah, what math are you doing on your end to think about like have you been growing enough to have capacity? Do you have a formula?
So I would say if you've increased your at the very least like your email list size by around 30%, somewhere between 50 and 30, 15, sorry, not 50, 15 and 30% in the last like month or so, you probably have capacity for those 5 sales calls. And you've been nurturing those people. So it's not like they just got on your email list and they haven't heard from you, right? They've heard from you at least once a week for the last 4 weeks. And yeah, I would say in that case, there's definitely capacity here. You have space.
Okay.
If we're talking social media, at this point, I would have to pay attention to like your engagement. Now, keep in mind, social media is a bit different because engagement doesn't always mean that those people will buy.
Right.
So we're kind of like assuming a lot when we look
For
at your
sure.
engagement rate.
Yeah.
But it is an indicator because if you have high engagement, you are more likely to like have people who want to purchase.
Yeah.
If you have low engagement, you could still have people who want to purchase. Those people could just be lurkers, right? But it's something that you want to pay attention to. Also, follower growth. Again, followers do not equal sales. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
But just knowing that your audience size is growing can mean that you have capacity for those 5 sales calls. So basically, it's a combination of the size in terms of like the rate of growth, as well as the level of connection and engagement. How many touch points have they had with you between when they found you and now? If those 2 things are really working well for you, and then I gave you those numbers for what they look like for email. For social is trickier, but we'll just assume that your engagement is good.
Yeah.
And that you've grown your following in the last 4 weeks and you've published content. You haven't like just grown and then disappeared,
Yes.
we'll assume all of that is working.
Okay.
Then your business probably has capacity for 5 sales calls.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's assume that's true. And let's imagine we've got this coach. They
Right.
have capacity. They've been growing their socials. They've been growing their email list. They want 5 sales calls for next week. What would you say their next step would be? Like, actually, let's say they don't have an email account. Let's only talk socials.
Okay.
What would we say they should do? Would you say like, well, it's time to do a webinar or go live, or like, what would you recommend?
I would recommend how active is their social? Like,
dang, you love data.
I do. You know this about me. I'm never gonna. Here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing.
I did not come prepared enough to pitch this question.
But here's the lesson in this though, Genesis. I think it's really important for us to not take anyone's advice about our business without them having asked us the questions about our data. Because it's really easy to give advice. It's much harder to look at what's actually going on in your business and then from there give advice. And not enough coaches do it that way, right? Not enough coaches, like there are tons of coaches out there who just recommend their framework. I'm like, fam, you don't know where I'm growing an audience. You don't know how fast that audience is growing. You don't know if my messaging is working, but you just want me to use your framework? That's not gonna work.
That's that like plug and play crap that I get so mad at, because it's like, okay, just because this method works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me on so many levels. Both like, what if I hate live like webinars? What if I communicate better in writing or whatever? Yeah. Like there's so many different pieces to it.
So many pieces. Your business has a completely different capacity than my business. You have different clients, you have different messaging, you have a team. I probably am the only person in my business. You've been on social media for 10 years. I've only been here for like a month. Like,
like I have 10 hours to devote to my business every week. You have 40, or like,
or I have 5 and you have 40.
Yes, exactly. Like,
because I have a newborn and I'm working and I don't have a partner. Like there's so many things. So many things. But let's just assume that let's just assume that their socials are great and they don't have an email list. I would say go live. This is the time to get like conversations going. And nothing gets conversations going like some kind of video where people see your face. So whether it's a pre-recorded reel or a live video, or even in your Instagram stories, like show your face and start to publish the content and the messaging, inviting people to book sales calls, right? Like, what are they seeing in their lives? What is the actual problem, right? So they might be seeing all these symptoms. My coach actually kind of talks about it this way. Like, you have this like rash on your arm, but you don't really know why you have this rash. So your people are seeing all these things in their lives. They might think they know why they have these problems, but you as the coach know the real problem. So at this point, your job is to tell them, hey, if you're seeing this, this, and this is your real issue that you need to solve. Here are all your options for solving this issue. But really, here's why you need my thing, my option for solving this issue above all of those other options. So show your face, talk about those kind of stages, if you will, of like, okay, if you're seeing these symptoms, here's the problem. If you have this problem, here are the options. Here's why you should choose my thing out of all of these options. And start some conversations, like ask people to either DM you, or if they leave a comment, you go out of your way to DM them. When you don't have a ton of like resources in your business in terms of like, oh, I have an email list. Oh, I have a podcast with thousands of listeners. Oh, I have a YouTube channel. Oh, like when you don't have all those things, and let's say you just have Instagram, but Instagram's really going well for you, this is your chance to have conversation with people, because it's really easy to just DM somebody. It's real easy to just reach out. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that. What if they don't respond? Or what if I come off as sleazy? You don't have to. It's just a conversation, right? Like, especially if they're communicating that this is a real problem for them. This is something that is burning and urgent, right? And they might say it. They're more likely to say it, especially if you do it if the content that you're publishing is really like relatable.
Yeah, like super
real.
specific. Yes.
Right. Super specific, super like they can listen to you, they can see you, they can hear you, they can read what you're saying and be like, damn girl, why you in my head? Why you up in my life? I don't want you
Exactly.
here. Why
Yep.
are you here?
How did you know that I hit snooze 4 times? Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
like once it's that specific, they're more likely to say, fam, this is a word, or sis, you understand. Just even little things like that, you can just send them a DM to say, hey, saw that my post resonated with you.
Yeah.
Would love to hear what's going on. Like if you're open to sharing, right? Just start the conversation. And trust me, you'll get 5 sales calls from that. Those conversations will lead to those 5 sales calls. But that's like a massive, like if you have everything going for you on the front end.
Right,
So
right. Disclaimer. I love that. And that's so true. Like, I feel like ultimately all of your work helps coaches start conversations with their potential clients. Like, everything you do is thinking about how do we get the right people for this offer to raise their hands so we can reach out and grab them and be like, hi, nice to meet you. Like, and shake their hand. And like actually start a relationship. I do a lot of gratitude in my outreach where it's like, what if that was your first step? Like, what if it was just reaching out and saying, thanks for following? Like, thank you for watching my live.
Oh
like,
my goodness.
They're going to be so much more likely to pull up that message that you started with them in a week when they're in the pain than feeling like they have to start that conversation with you themselves. Like, I love that idea of like, go live, see who's engaging with you, and reach out to them. It's that simple.
It's literally that simple, y'all. I think in so much of or like the fancy like shiny object stuff that we do online, the simplicity of sales gets lost. The simplicity of service gets lost. It literally is just a conversation. That's it. Like your webinar is just one long conversation.
Yeah.
This is why in between each section, you might stop and say, hey, do this, or tell me this in the comments, or sound off and let me know if you have any questions, or if this resonates with you, drop this in the comments, right? Like it's just one long conversation. We just have overcomplicated it trying to remove ourselves from the conversation. Don't do that, especially as a new coach. Don't do that. You can't afford to remove yourself right now because you need their words. You need to understand where they're coming from. If you remove yourself, you'll never understand that, and your messaging will not be doing its job.
Yeah. And I feel like there's this component that, like, if you're feeling burnt out to the point that you don't want to be doing that, like you don't want to be starting conversation with your audience or with your leads, like maybe it's time for a pivot, or maybe it's time for a break and a nap. Like, you know, I love that you talk about like the sustainability. Yes. Exactly. Like that sustainability, I feel like that I see you post about a lot is in the congruence of your approach and your like authentic goals. And I just love that about everything you do. It's so steeped in, well, tell me more. Like I could have a recommendation, but like I need to make an informed decision here before I give you a recommendation.
Yeah. And you know, friend, I've seen enough coaches, enough of my clients in years gone by where I would just make a recommendation and not stop to consider the sustainability of it, not stop to consider the specifics of their business enough. I've made that mistake. And so I've just seen it way too many times. I've had clients tell me, and you know this, I've had clients tell me how they've ended up in the hospital from like just trying so hard to get whatever sale it is they need to get, right? To hit these launch goals, to do whatever it is that they felt they needed to do because somebody recommended it to them. Just like, there's this phrase that's going around a lot now, like life first business. And I am not a fan of like catchphrases and buzzwords.
Yeah.
But I think there is something here, because the reality of the situation is that you are a human being. You have only a certain amount of energy, only a certain amount of time. And you already have things in your life that demand that energy and time from you, right? So you starting a business is another demand. And within that business are multiple demands that come with it. You trying to launch a coaching program, a multitude of layers in terms of all the demands that now are attached to you, pulling energy from you, pulling time from you. It's not sustainable for you to then make a goal without disregarding your energy, your capacity, your bandwidth, your time, just completely disregarding your life and your responsibilities. And you're like, I want fab sales goal, sales calls. Like,
but why?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that a lot of times the money pressure is also there. And the truth of the matter is you're gonna either get those 5 sales calls and not even be able to take them because you can't function, or you're not going to get those 5 sales calls and burn yourself out trying to do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. And so there has to be that alignment for me. It has to be there. No question. The alignment in the data of your business, the alignment in what's available to you in your life in terms of the space and time and energy you actually have to do the work. It has to be there, or we just have to adjust what the work looks like. We have to adjust your goals, your actions, and your expectations, because it's just not going to work otherwise.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. And ultimately, that's how you build a sustainable business that allows
100%.
you to sustain your
passion.
I have to do that. I just have to. It's so good. Chelsea, this has been such a good conversation. I feel like we've covered so much more than copywriting. You are a wealth of knowledge. I love your perspectives on launching and business in general and strategy. I feel like some takeaways I'm taking from our conversation, and then I'll see if you have other things you want to add to before we wrap up, is just, look into the data. Be a data informed decision maker as you lead your business. And that data doesn't only mean numbers and funnels and metrics. It also means your capacity, your energy, your goals. There's intrinsic and extrinsic, extrinsic, that's not the right word. Intrinsic and external factors at play in every decision that you are faced with. And as business owners, we make a shit ton of decisions every day. So don't neglect either side, either the external or the internal reasoning for making the calls that you make as you're growing your business. But what would you like to share as we wrap up?
I mean, that's a brilliant takeaway.
That's all you. That's all you. That was from listening to you.
I think the being empathy led is also such a powerful kind of lesson for all of us, that empathy led for yourself, but also empathy led for your people. So as you look at this data, keeping in mind that, hey, I'm looking at this and I'm learning this skill so that I can meet them where they're at. It's not just, okay, so I can make the money in my business. Yeah. But the way to do that is to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that I want us to kind of pull out of this conversation. And then the final thing is really just the importance of having those conversations, because the conversation is what lets you know what's most urgent. It's what lets you know what's most compelling for your people. It's what lets you lead with empathy, because you actually know, right? And so it's so easy to bypass those conversations in our industry and in this business. And I think it costs so many new coaches so much time, because they're trying to do all these fancy sales funnels and all these things. And they're just not having the conversations they need to have with their people.
Right.
So really start those conversations today. Literally, if somebody follows you on Instagram, just reach out and say, hey, thanks for following me. Why do you decide to do that? I'm just curious if you're open to sharing. Start a conversation. It doesn't have to be complicated. But it's really what sets you up for success is if you want to grow a business, you're going to need those conversations in your back pocket.
So true. And especially as a coach, like you got to get used to asking questions. So,
oh yeah,
that's a good approach. Like,
yeah.
why'd you follow me? What are you looking for? Like, those are great questions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. I feel like we could talk all day.
Yeah,
because have you back on for like a later episode, but thank you for being episode number 20. So good. Did you share your Instagram handle before?
I did not. I wrote it down and then
people
forgot.
Know. So, where can I find you?
I'm at the Launch Copy Coach on Instagram. So you can come over, DM me any questions that you have coming out of this episode. If you want to see my case studies too, you can send me a DM and I can share those with you as well.
Perfect. She is brilliant. Go follow her. And yeah, reach out if you've got follow-up questions from this episode. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week. Thanks, Chelsea.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.